Hey guys, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind with your host, me, Paul Trudel-Payne. Today, it is a very special day because we're doing something I've never done before, which is bring on two guests. Yes, two best friends, both professional dancers, both queer leaders because, hey, we are in Pride Month, and they are both the creators of the Big Queer Dance Party. I cannot wait for you guys to meet them, so check it out. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind with your host, me, Paul Trudel-Payne. And today I am so excited to bring you not one, but two guests to the show. I first just want you to help me in welcoming both Clinton and Maygen. Clinton, Maygen, hello, how are you?
Great, happy to be here.
Awesome, well, welcome to my bedroom. I normally do not tape in my bedroom, but I have a 3-year-old and he is throwing a fit downstairs, so it's safer up here. But what I do want to do, if it's okay, is just jump right in because I know I have a lot of stuff to cover. And I asked the same first question to every guest. Today we have two, so we're gonna kick it off, I think, with Maygen, ladies first. I want to know a little bit about Maygen as a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, get prepared, Clinton, get prepared.
Maygen as a child. Wow. She's not somebody I really think about every day. She was a tomboy, which is, she knew what was happening. She knew she was a queer lady. Was always very intuitive, very connected to nature and to people around me. I was like a little baby activist, friends with all the kids. I grew up because Oklahoma, which is where Clinton and I are both from, is a very racist state. And I was, befriending people who were getting made fun of because they had a certain skin color, and I was always inquisitive and trying to understand people's experiences, and really open-minded to all experiences. And that has definitely carried over into who I am as an adult as well. And she was like the baby May, as I call her, was super goofy, real awkward. Also, that has carried over into adulthood. So I would say I'm not much different, just a little bit more of an enhanced version of how I was born. So
I do have a question. How did your family, I guess, react when you were befriending the people that sort of, I guess, were sort of like outsiders?
Well, I lived with my mom. My dad and my mom got divorced when I was quite young. So my mom's very, thank goodness, is very aware of those dynamics and racism, and has always, like, I got my inquisitive nature from her, and her caring of other beings from her. So she really held great space for me with my concern around it and helping me unpacking it and try to understand it, and how to deal with it. And so, my mom, essentially, just my mom, but it's very understanding. My dad's a different story, but thank goodness I didn't grow up with him.
No, I think that's amazing that you grew up at least in that household, especially surrounded by such the opposite,
Yeah, totally.
So you are so lucky. I promise you every guest that's been on the show is going to be emailing me saying that it's not fair what's happening, because now you get to take a break and I get to go straight to Clinton. So Clinton, same question. I want to know about you as a little boy.
Oh, little baby Clinty. I mean, same as May. I was so queer and so in the closet. Um, I love my older sister. I have an older sister and a younger brother. My older sister was always a dancer, so I was like constantly dancing around the house and like loved watching her perform. I was super artistic and super creative. Um, and then very well, this is common with queer kids of like the perfect kid syndrome of like if I'm just perfect at everything, no one will know that I'm gay. So I was really good in school. I was like a really good student, which is great. But looking back, it was such a defense mechanism to like just be good at everything, and then no one will ask any questions. So yeah, I was just always trying to be like the good kid. But started dancing when I was very little, and um, yeah, and like always gravitated to like funny older kids, and
Mm.
like my friends' older sisters were always I always wanted to be friends with them instead of my friends. um that was like, I don't know, and funny people, like I just love, like I wanted to be, I remember being little and this like I want to be funny, like that was like all I wanted.
What was your family
Oh,
like? Were they funny?
congratulations, you
Yeah.
succeeded.
Did it, check it off the list.
Were they all
What was my family
comedians?
like? No, my sister is very dry and she's
Uh,
very funny, but it's like a very specific sense of humor. And my dad is very dad humor funny, so not funny. And my mom laughs at everything, so that's
wow.
helpful, I guess, to like facilitate young comedians. um, but yeah, I don't know. It's not like my family is so funny,
Yeah.
but my brother is also funny in a very other quiet, like very silent, strong way of like he doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, it's ridiculous. So, and he's very intelligent. So the three of us are like a funny little trio. But yeah, I think that's why I was like always seeking out older, funnier people because like
Hmm.
no one at home was that fun.
I love that you brought up that what so many I think queer people go through when they're a child of like uh, finding a way to fit in that is about being perfect.
Hmm.
Because people don't. I really just don't think they recognize it. I know personally I did not. Um, I don't know when did you realize that that was what you were doing, or did you always know?
I
No.
mean, I think I knew that if I was a really good student, I could get out of Oklahoma, which was a huge goal as well, to not stay there because I knew that I couldn't and I wasn't safe and it didn't feel good and that I wanted to meet a broader range of humans. um, and no shitting on Oklahoma. There's great things that happen there, but everyone should leave their home and explore and see things before they decide what they want to do. So for me, I knew that I would have to be smart and good at something in order to get out, to have the money to go to college, to get scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the main drive. But then now
Yeah.
looking back, I'm like, oh, and then also, I forget perfect boy syndrome or perfect child. It's like a whole
Hmm.
uh, frequently common in queer kids. Yeah, so I don't know that I didn't ever like attach it to that when I was little because I could never admit that I was gay when I was little. But
Yeah.
now looking back, I'm like, oh, that's what was happening.
Yeah. I mean I like mine happened as recently as like literally this year. I think I've talked to Maygen about it a little bit. Um, but watching a human rights campaign speech, and like I'd never heard someone describe coming out the way that this man described his coming out. And I know you can go down two different roads, but or many than much more than two. But yeah, I'd never known like, hey, maybe that was what it was. And he related it a lot to like the minute someone criticizes you, it's like that first criticism. That's when you realize like I'm different because you already feel different, right? And so you don't know that everyone else probably feels different too, but you feel so different. And that first criticism then is like this wave, right, that just overcomes of like now everything after that might be because of this. And it helps then you shift yourself to say like, well, I should be really good, and if I'm good, like my parents won't notice and family won't notice, and then if I'm good, okay, maybe like my peers won't note, like, right, like I just need to fit these boxes to be okay and like get through. but what it slowly like sometimes does, and I don't want to speak for every person, but I know for me, I related to his and mine felt the same, is it turned into like, that's how then I realized that's how I get love. Like I have to do something to get it because I don't just deserve it.
Inherently deserve it, yeah.
Yeah, and like that path then, which I want to go with both of you now, and this is really for both of you. A lot of us, I think, that are queer that did not come out when they were younger. I know when I might be aging myself because you guys both look very young. But when I was young, like, it was not okay to be different. Like, it was very much like you fit in, that's the way that you should go. Not like now where kids are like, I want to be different. It was just like such a different environment. And so, yeah, like that was the worst thing to me in my head ever that I could ever be, is different. And after that then, so like for a lot of us, I feel like high school was like, I just have to get through it. If I can get through high school, everything's gonna be fine after that. Did you guys have that same feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. Go ahead, Clinty.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, in high school is actually when Maygen and I met, and when our love affair began. And I think some of that was like it was dancing together, and we were in a company together, and then we were at a studio together, and I think back on that time, and like dance, this is so cliche, but like dance really helped me survive and kept me alive, and a lot of those people that we were dancing with and that I was dancing with, I didn't go to school with, so it was nice to have that other outlet.
Yeah.
And like safe space, really. Yeah,
that was what dance always was for me. It was like a safe space where I could really be myself. Like I think just because the dance community and industries as a whole are just much more accepting, because I don't know how that happened, but even in Oklahoma, like school wasn't safe, out in the world wasn't safe. And, you know, we're constantly getting the narrative, because Oklahoma is considered the Bible Belt, that if we're different, predominantly gay, then we're going to go to hell, that it's a sin and we're going to hell. And so that's the narrative that was around us all the time. And I didn't grow up with that narrative in my actual household. However, it was around me everywhere. And so the dance studio was like the safe space to express, to be friends with other people who were weird and artists and trying to figure it out. And I, like, my best friendships were always at the dance studio. I changed dance studios quite a few times, but always, like, those are the people I'm still friends with. You know, that's where I made my deeper connections. That's who I could talk to things about. And there were like a lot of things happening in my childhood that I couldn't just talk about with anybody. And not that I didn't really talk about it to people at the dance studio, but it was just still this like sacred, safe space that I could just be. So I definitely agree with that. And just as a little fun story, Clint and I did try to fall in love with each other to save face.
I just had a
We
feeling.
tried
I had
so
a feeling
hard.
about
Sorry,
it.
Clinty, if I'm embarrassing you.
No, we tried so hard.
We did. It would have been a beautiful relationship. But
yeah, funny thing.
I mean, we're still, you know, married in some way.
Yeah, it's funny that two queer people don't always work together.
Yeah. Not all the time. Oh God, that's so funny. I have a question for you both. With you knowing, all of us know, like, yes, this is who we are, we're different. Did that present itself in any form of physical way? But beyond the, like, I'm perfection, right? Like, I need to be perfect or I need to do good. I feel like a lot of people, and this is when a lot of queer, I feel like kids but really learn how, like, oh my God, now I have anxiety, now I have depression, without knowing it, right? Now they feel these things and they don't know it and they have to deal with it. Like, I've read a crazy fact, like, so shocked about it, that like the minute you realize you have a form of a mental illness, right? That they say is mental illness. on average for queer youth, it can take the time that you then get medication for it, so help, so you can know that you have this. You might not go talk to a doctor right away, but the time you finally talk to a doctor and get medicine, or however you decide to cope with it, is on average like 11 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I know I was like super depressed when I was little, and it does run in my family, so it wasn't ever, not that we talked about it, because we didn't talk about it, but it was very I would say it was very connected to my queerness, but also adolescence and puberty is hard no matter what, and then to have on top of that this other layer of like having to hide and shield and protect yourself was extremely difficult. And yeah, I would say so. Yes, it was very in that way. Like I was very, I think through maybe junior high and early high school until like later high school, when like Megan and I met, it cured my, not at all, but like I feel like toward the end of high school, I started to like not give a fuck. Sorry, I don't know if we can cut. Can we cuss?
Yeah, yes.
Started to not give a fuck a lot more, and started to just really only hang out with the people that were super open and comfortable and great. Not that I was even out, but just, you know, you have a sense of that. And so I would, yeah, I'm talking in circles now.
No, you're good. And you said,
yeah,
Megan,
I mean, yeah. Oh my gosh. I've always been a very sensitive person from like just childhood, always very sensitive, which comes with a lot of anxiety. So I have a specific anxiety disorder that I wasn't diagnosed with until like 4 years ago, but I've had symptoms of it my entire life. And it's just, it's wild that would happen. Like I didn't start getting proper treatment until 4 years ago, but yet I had it my entire life. And I don't really connect that with being queer per se. But yes, that is a part of like experiencing anxiety and depression and things like that, which depression is something I've experienced as well. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely done that research as well. Like it's like 85% of LGBTQ youth experience some form of anxiety, depression, or a mental disorder. I have experienced all three. And it's hard to find help and therapists and any other form of help that is competent in the area of LGBTQ experiences.
Yeah.
And we could, the reasoning behind that's like a whole other podcast.
Yeah, but, I know, right?
But yeah, so I would say it wasn't hard for me to find help. I am privileged in that way. I've always had access to that, to like therapy and anything that I need, but finding people that are LGBTQ competent is very difficult.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that's probably why like no therapist that I saw in Oklahoma could really catch, any of these being tied to one another. It wasn't until I started seeing a therapist at the LGBT Center in Los Angeles that I was introduced to internalized queer phobia. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I've definitely learned a lot from working with LGBTQ therapists or wellness people, or at least people who are competent in that, but took a long time, like a really long time.
Yeah, I like mental health for me is like not a passion project. It's just something that I like to bring light to in general if people experience it, because so many people hide it so much, and I hid it. But it, again, like you were just saying, Megan, like it's my entire life, right? Like, and for me, there was a time I couldn't hide it because I internalized it so that I would get sick. So like there was like, I don't even know, probably until like junior year of high school, I don't remember, it would be weird if I didn't get sick that day. It's like I threw up that often all the time. And it was hard, right? Like you'd like just run a track meet or something, and then I have to like run, and like it's like so crazy. And I don't think that any mental illness is associated to one thing. But I think like for queer people and particular, it's like, it's hard to escape that, right? Like, because it's part of you. So while there's external events that can cause it, or things, judgment, it's like there's no escape that you have, because you get to go home to yourself to then also still not feel like someone's there or something. So, which is obviously why it's more prevalent, and it's more rampant in this community, and not being diagnosed. And it's insane since I found out that fact, because since I found out that fact, every person I've talked to who has said like, hey, I've experienced this when I was younger, they all say the same thing. Like, yeah, okay, so you were like 6 or 5 or 12, now you're 30 or 40, and now you've gotten treated. So it is true, like it takes that long for that to happen, which is, it's just crazy. It's a little bit crazy that is, but anyways, I don't want to go off on a rampant. Yeah, so what I'd love to hear too is, I know you guys got to fall in love in high school. What happens after high school?
Oh, we get married and have babies.
Okay. It just didn't work out.
Wow. Our story it's long. I mean, Clint moved to New York, I moved to LA. So we just decided to move as far away from each other as we possibly could.
Yeah, seriously.
I was supposed to move to New York, actually, and we were going to live together and be like the real life Will and Grace. But then I ruined the plan, and I went to visit LA and I fell in love and I stayed. So yeah, how much of the story do you want?
So like, did you guys go to
know.
school? Did you go to school? Is that what you got moved to the opposite side of the country for?
I went to college in New York, and so I was in New York for a year, and the plan was for Maygen to come and live here as well. But my sister at the time lived in LA, and I think Maygen came with me to visit LA and like loved it, and then had a summer, and like after the summer of living in LA was going to move to New York, and then just didn't, and we just continued to I used to think of myself really as pretty bi-coastal, because my sister doesn't live there anymore, but she lived there for so long, and Maygen was always there, so I would go to LA pretty frequently, and Maygen would visit New York a lot. Meg had jobs here even, and like would stay with me. Like it was really we really made it work for bi-coastal besties.
You did.
Bi-coastal besties, our long distance relationship. But yeah, so both of us, I moved to LA. I didn't go to college because I was like, F that. But I moved out there to dance professionally. So both of us were dancing professionally on the coast, and Clinton still does dance and choreograph and is in that whole world. The LA dance world is very different from the New York world. It wasn't my jam. So I only lasted about 5 or 6 years in the LA dance industry. But we've kind of come together to build a business together based on our experiences in dance, which have, we've been dancers for our entire lives.
Yeah.
So
that's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about this fusion that you two are now bringing to the table.
Big queer dance party.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us, like, how did the idea happen? How did it even come to reality? I want to know it all.
Wow.
Go ahead, Clint.
Well, both Maygen and I have experience teaching. She was in the yoga world for a while, and I've taught group fitness for a long time, and both of us have taught dance since, as you do as a dancer, you start teaching when you're like 15. So we have all this teaching experience, and I for a long time have wanted something that feels good to teach and feels better on my body, and has more of like has an element of dance in it that, like, for both of us, and I think for most people that are dancers, like dance is so much release, and it's so much meditation inside of it, as funny and weird as that can be. But like the reason we always come back to dance or keep dancing is because besides just the performative side of it, there's something about it that we need. And so for a long time I've wanted something that felt that good and could express that and be something I could teach. And I had the name Big Queer Dance Party came a long time ago, and I like quickly saved it on all the platforms. So I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is it, and this is so fun. And then Maygen and I were just talking about as she was leaving the yoga world. This is also like 2 weeks before pandemic hits America. She's like ferociously texting me, and I'm like sitting at an office job, and like I want to make something, and we need to be teaching, and like this is the idea I have. And I was like, oh my God, can we just combine all the things we like and put it all into this one thing? And and it sort of was just this like literal ping pong game of texting like ferociously, both of us, of okay, should we do this? Like, let's make this, let's talk about it. And Maygen, being who she is like, should I buy a plane ticket? I'm gonna buy a plane ticket. Let's do this. And I was like, maybe breathe for a second and like, let's keep talking about it. She's like, I already got a plane ticket. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna be there next week. So yeah. And then basically it actually was like the most like so intuitive. I mean, both of us are so intuitive, but like incredible for her to like do that. Cause literally the week before things started shutting down, like we had this amazing week together to like hang out and be friends and like run around New York, but also we spent every day like kind of building this business that then is now obviously totally online because everything is online right now. But yeah,
wow. And
did I get I mean, I feel like
no, I get it. Like it's huge. It's a huge concept, and it's a huge thing to even bring to life. So congratulations that you guys did that and did it when you did it, because yeah, that's always fun. But the plus side is that's the best story later, right? You did it and you made it work.
We made this thing during a global pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to say that I mean, this is something that Clint and I have been kind of brainstorming. Like, it originally was me helping him brainstorm about things that light him up, things that he could do that like really bring him joy and make him feel like that he's using all of his gifts for a grand purpose. And the talk about it was, and this talk, I mean, I think it was 2 years ago. I don't know. Time. What is time? It was a while ago. We don't know. But that we talked about, like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a space for our community and everybody would be welcome, but it would be really to honor the queer community, because I mean, in health and wellness, and don't get me started, because this is my whole, like, I get on a soapbox, but there's not hardly any spaces for our community. There's a lot of party spaces, but there's not a lot of mindful spaces. So we've always been like thinking about that. And that's been a big part of my purpose. And within the yoga world, within what I'm doing now, is making more space for the queer community. So we had talked about it, and it would be like this big dance party. And yeah, Clint came up with the name Big Queer Dance Party for a long time ago. And then I was just feeling stagnant in yoga and like kind of wanting to pull away from that for also a whole other podcast, a lot of different reasons. But so I was just like, I'm coming to New York and we're going to make this thing. And then like, we'll just see what happens. And so yeah, so it's like, it's called Big Queer Dance Party. Obviously we've said it like 12 times. We don't want you to forget it. Branding. And so what it is it's okay, there's so many things I think that make us really unique and different, and like kind of filling in the gaps of other fitness and dance-y type classes. But it's like somebody told us, which I thought was, I hadn't really thought about, but it's really low impact. So there are fitness elements in there, but it's using your body weight. We give a lot of modifications. We try to make it accessible for all bodies, all beings. So we're aware that, you know, it's that we want every person in the queer community to be able to be there and feel like this space was made for them. And then, so there's like a fitness element, but it's not about like getting rock hard abs or anything like that. It's about literally moving energy through the body and having fun and getting into the body. So we do a lead warm up, and then we go into like fitness interval type stuff, low impact interval training. And then we go into a movement practice we do follow the leader. So we do like a song or two of like just fun, like silly type dancing that they can follow
structured
along
cardio movement.
Yeah. Like kind of like a I don't know, Zumba maybe is what it could be compared to a little
Okay.
bit. I don't know. I don't know. And then we go into led movement still, but more exploratory and individualized we were inspired by a form of movement called Gaga, and this was invented before Lady Gaga, but it's comes from this company in Israel. And it's like exploring all the ways that you can move your body and how those movements affect other parts of your body. So we do a song of that, and then we go into more like free form movement and set everybody free. And what's really cool about it is like we bring in elements of yoga where there's like an intentionality behind everything. We bring in the fitness side where it's like fun, getting the body pumping, blood pumping, energy moving, and then the dance, which is like what we feel is the most healing element of all. So it's this really incredible fusion of all these things that create this, I think it's like an incredible, a magical experience.
It is. It sounds amazing. Maygen, you know, like the minute you tell me an idea, I just have like 50 other ideas. So I have to talk to you after this podcast because like that's so good. With a person that's coming. So if I want to come, right? I know right now it's online. Is it something that like I need to prep for, right? Like, is it like I just come and it's brand new and I'm good to go every time?
You are good to go
every time.
And I always start, and you just need a space that you can move in and water because we get thirsty, but like that's really it. You don't need anything. And that's been a big goal. Maygen said this, but like we try to make it as accessible as possible so that if you've taken a ton, then like great, you can click in a little faster. But if you haven't, we're giving everything there, and we're giving modifications, and we're giving ways of doing it that are easier. And the whole goal, and like what I, you know, even today when I taught, I start class with like, change anything that doesn't work for you. Like I'll give you options, but if you need to move slow today, you move slow, and that's fierce.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you guys are doing that so much. When I went to college, my parents are in the medical field, so I decided like I want to go as far away, right, from that field as possible. And I wanted to leave. I grew up in Central Washington, so it's like it's like the desert essentially, it's like a migrant town. Like my family, they're all migrant workers, Hispanic, and I just knew like, God, I gotta go away. And so I went to San Francisco like the day after our graduation. And
wow,
I don't know why, but I for some reason thought that I was gonna be a like performer. So I thought I was gonna be like a singer and a dancer. And I got into school, which was awesome. And then that let me down like not a good path. So, which is another podcast. But it does relate to like what we talked about when we first started talking of like that whole like perfectionism, because it shows itself right throughout your life. Like if you don't handle those situations, it's always going to keep coming. And one thing I've always loved was dance. And you're right, like it's so healing and transformative, and you can like lose yourself for a little bit. And I love that you guys are doing that. That's why I want to talk to you after this, because you need to be in like gyms. So yeah, like this is such a good thing for this community. I'm so happy that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, and what's really important and what we want people to know is like, just like with singing, you know, there's this stigma that if you haven't been trained in it, then you're not, like if you haven't been trained in dancing, then you're not a dancer. That it's only, you know, like how many times have people, you've talked about going out dancing, they're like, I don't dance, I'm not a dancer. Or I'm bad at dancing. There's really no such thing, you know? So we want this to be a space where people can maybe even for the first time explore movement and what it does for them, and really teaching them how they can use it as a practice that's on their own as well, that they don't have to like be with us to do it, that it gives them yet another tool of health and wellness that they can use to their benefit. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I've seen your guys' videos. I mean, I'm just into dance anyways, but what you guys are doing, and what I always would tell people is like, there's such a difference between I go to a club, right, and I like twerk. I mean, not that that's not dance at all, but it's different. There's a different intention. There's a lot of different things there. Like, I mean, I feel like it's like a rite of passage for some gay boy to like have to dance on a box for like a night or two or something, right? Like at a club. So like, you know, like we all do it, so it's done. But like what you guys do, this expression with your body and the story that it tells, like that's what I love. Like that to me is like the beauty and what that art form should be, is like those stories. So yeah, anyways, I could go on and on about it because I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. But what I have to do is I have 2 more questions. We're already going out of time because I want to keep talking and it's my fault, so sorry. But 2 questions. First and foremost, every guest, I love to hear this, and I want from both of you. We'll start this time maybe with Quentin, so we'll throw it off. If you could be in front of your self when you were little, what would you tell him today?
Oh, wow. I've been doing so much like inner child work lately, so let me get the monologue ready. I mean, really, I would just say you're doing it and you're okay, and I'm so proud of you. And like the things that I needed from my parents, that it wasn't that they weren't giving to me, but they didn't know they needed to give to me. And yeah, I think I would just say that I see you and I'm so proud of you, and it's gonna get better and it's gonna get way more fun. And also just expressing the like how necessary it is to build that shell and to protect yourself, but like not letting that be permanent, and realizing that like one day the thing that I'm fighting so hard to hide is going to become my secret weapon and my biggest gift, and my the thing that I yell about the most and get the most attention for, positive attention, because I also get negative attention. And I think I would just say that like this thing that you're ashamed of is nothing to be ashamed of, and it's gonna like blossom and be something that you're so happy to have.
That's great. Maygen?
I would tell her to hang on tight. It's gonna be a bumpy ride for quite a while. Just, you know, wow. Like when I think back on my life, I'm like, I am so happy to be alive, and to be here now. But I would also probably tell her that, like, as she is in that moment, she is lovable and worthy of love, and that there's nothing wrong with her, that she's like perfect the way that she is, and to continue like going down that path and not let anybody else's judgment hold her back from being the wholeness of who she is.
It's beautiful. Okay, guys, so before we head out, tell us, how can people stay in touch with you?
Follow us on the Insta at Big Queer Dance Party.
Perfect.
And yeah, so Clint and when you follow us there, you'll be updated on everything. But we do want to host a Pride Week. Clinton teaches on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on our page, and I teach on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But we do want to do a Pride Week where we feature only queer artists in our playlists, and we can all get dressed up and have a great time. So we haven't decided when that week is, so just be on the lookout and come celebrate with us and follow us and be a part of our community.
But also follow Maygen at Maygen Nicholson.
Thank you. I'm like
He's doing a lot of other really
cool
things. And so at Maygen Nicholson, I'm at Clinton_Edward. And both of us are the like king and queen of doing like 500 other things at all times. So besides Big Queer Dance Party, anything we're involved in, Instagram is the current currency. So like we're always posting about everything else. So anything else we're involved in, you'll always find there. But at Maygen Nicholson and at Clinton Edward.
And we will for sure link that up on this video for you. And then please let us know as soon as that week is scheduled, because I for sure want to help any way I can to get it out there.
Awesome.
You guys have been awesome. I can't thank you enough. I truly, like, from the bottom of my heart, am so happy that there are leaders in this community like you that are giving and really putting yourselves out there in such an authentic and raw way that allow people to connect with you, because that is what people need. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes,
This is
of
so
course.
fun.
Yes,
This
good.
was
Well,
so fun.
we will have to do it again for sure.
Yes.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right.
Love
Thanks,
that.
everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you.